Know what time it is. Toilets to Titles is proud to present Title Time. And here's your hosts, Rich, George, and Jason. Does everyone know what time it is? Toilets to Titles is proud to present Title Time.
And welcome to Title Time. I'm your host, Jason, and with me, we've got a special guest. I'm going to go ahead and introduce him first, and then I'll bring in our other host. But first, we're going to bring in IDP Iggy. Iggy, why don't you say hi to everybody this morning? Let everybody know where they can find you, and we'll start with the plugs.
Oh, absolutely, Jason. Richard, thanks for having me on here, guys. Glad to be with y'all this morning. You can find me at IDP_Iggy on X. We also have the sports affiliation. You can find that at thesportsaffiliation.com. It's where you find all my articles and so forth. And then if you want to find us on X, it's the sports affili. Just stops at the I for that namesake. We had to do it that way. But that's where you can pretty much find all my work. I also do write my longest series, which is Player Pine and IDP Starter Sit. That can be found at King Fantasy Sports, which is based out of London.
Oh, nice. Very cool. Yeah, and as Iggy mentions, he raises his hand because we do have a second straight week of London games. And as of right now, the Bills are losing to the Jaguars. Is it still 11-0, guys?
It is.
It is. Okay.
Fantastic.
So that's exactly how we all drew it up. I'm going to say if Jacksonville beats the Bills, they're the best team in Florida. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our other co-host. I'm going to do the one that was on time this morning, actually early. We'll do him first, and we'll say it's Frito Bandito. Rich, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, and I'm going to make this all about Iggy, man, because, look, the gentleman right here, I met him up at Canton this past year when we were at the Fantasy Expo and stuff like that, and we talked a little bit over there. Then we met at the airport. We actually flew back on the same plane. I was trying to make it to where he was able to sit so we could talk more and everything. But man, that flight was so packed and everything. So great dude's been doing great things. I especially want to give him a shout out because he did give a shout out to me with the article he's been doing. He's been doing has another great series of articles where he's just recognizing a lot of the community out there within. Is it more about Hispanics and culture, right, Iggy?
Yeah, because it's Latin Heritage Month this month, so I've just been writing. Today the article will be out after this show, and yes, sir, it's just focusing on Latin people that specifically are in the fantasy football industry.
Man, doing great things, man. And once again, I do appreciate the shout out on that one.
Of course, man. It was great talking to you, man. It was a lot of fun.
And then now I'll bring in the guy who couldn't find his way to be here on time this morning, Mr. George Reed. You just squeaked in under the wheel and then left during the intro. I got you.
Listen, I was here on time waiting for you to start, and then I had to go change my shirt because I realized I was not repping a Toilets to Title shirt. I was representing a shirt from another podcast. Didn't want to do that. I'm all about the brand here. So I went, and unlike Rich and Jason, I'm wearing a brand shirt, not just something I bought at Walmart or, in Rich's case, found at the dollar store on sale with those Raiders. But yeah, I mean, I'm here, I'm on time, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. Let's get into the questions.
Well, before we get into the questions, I do have to mention toiletstitles.com, patreon.com/toiletstitles. What we say here on the show is we have a tier for every budget. Or a tier for every salary. We have tiers starting at $1.50 and working their way up from there. And with those tiers, we have a Patreon chat in our gilded chat, and we have over 250 people talking about football all the time. You can ask questions in there. The Patreon chat gets preferential treatment. We have a waiver wire document we put out in there as well. So, go to message any of us at toiletstitles@gmail.com to get into our gilded chat and join our Patreon. For, like I said, for as little as $1.50, You get all the perks that we have to offer. We have like I said, starting at $1.50, and then for like $1 million, Joe will come to your house, feed your kids, spoon with you at night, whatever you're looking for. So, like I said, we have a tier for every budget. But as George mentioned, it's week 5. We are going to get into these questions, and I'm going to start with some of the comments because, like, my son is already in the chat and saying good morning. So he's a little early, but he says good morning. So good morning, Eli.
Morning, Eli.
Up, Eli.
And let's see. We've got some good mornings. We've got Happy Football Sunday, obviously. Thank you for saying good morning. And then Chris's video says George Addison or Jacoby Myers. And I'm going to start with Iggy because he's our guest this morning.
Yeah. So looking at that, Addison should receive some targets, but it's just so I don't know what's in the air. Jimmy G was for sure going to play. I would say Myers for sure. I'm assuming he in half-point PPR or full-point PPR. But with that uncertainty and supposedly the Devontae Adams narrative with him getting his revenge game, we'll see. He did have some chemistry with the rookie quarterback, which is Devontae Adams. If you know how to throw a football, you better throw it to him. But with that being said, I'm going to go Addison, but I do like Myers better long term. But this week specifically, give me Addison.
All right, and Rich.
Yeah, so out of these two, I'm actually going Myers. Look, the narrative is going to be Devontae, but he's also dinged up and everything. And Mr. Aiden O'Connell, which came in last week and did a valiant job and stuff like that for his showing and everything. But Garoppolo does have a chemistry with Jacoby Myers, if you saw that first week, if you guys can remember that far back. But look, Addison he's touchdown dependent right now and stuff like that. He gets that one big long touchdown, which don't get me wrong, I have him in multiple lineups and everything. But if I'm switching out of these two right now, I think Myers, even though the focus might be on Addison, that opens up a lot more for Myers in this game. So,
and George.
Yeah, so raise your hand if you're surprised that the guy wearing the Raiders hat and the Raiders shirt said take Jacoby Myers. Like, I feel like that's just a total homer answer. Like, Rich is like, you could say Justin Jefferson or Myers, and Rich is like, it's going to be Myers, and let me tell you why. Like, no,
that's not fair because this is Addison. It's nowhere near Justin Jefferson. But go ahead, George.
Bullcrap. He's on the other side of the field. So he is near him.
I mean, in proximity, not talent.
We don't know that yet. It's only been 5 games, but no, it's Jordan Addison is the correct answer. I agree with Iggy. He should be seeing coverage from Ladarius Sneed. If you've never heard of Ladarius Sneed, let me tell you this right now: you are not alone. He is the 134th ranked cornerback according to Pro Football Focus. Jordan Addison, he lines up all over the field, left side, right side. He plays a little bit in the slot. After posting a 0 last week, only on 1 target. I'm expecting a huge bounce back from Jordan Addison this week. It should be a pretty high-scoring game, you would think, between Kansas City and Minnesota. I'm going with Jordan Addison here.
So here's what I was going to go Myers, but that doesn't help Chris's video out at all. That means it's a 2-2 tie, and I don't want to do that. So here's what I'm going to say for you, Chris. If you're scheduled to win, then I would play Myers because I think, especially in a PPR or half PPR, he's a safe bet. He's going to get, I believe, more receptions. He's going to have a much safer floor. If you played against Fields or DJ Moore, then I would play Jordan. I would play Jordan Addison because I think he has the ceiling. I don't think Myers has the ceiling that Addison could have in that game. So if it were me, I'm going to say Addison because I don't want there to be a 2-2 tie, and it was close enough for me that I'm fine leaning that way. But if you just need a floor, then for me it's Jacoby Myers. So that way we don't have a tie, and then we're going to answer another question for Chris. Jaleel, if Javonte is out, or Pacheco. I'm going to start with George on this one.
Oh, hold on one second, because I'm not even looking at the screen.
Well, I can tell you the Jets are.
Yeah, if it's Jaleel or Pacheco, I'm going with Pacheco on this one. The Jets' defense is absolutely phenomenal. Give me 1 second here.
They're only They're eighth worst, I think, against the rush. They're allowing the eighth most points to fantasy running back. So they're not great. The one place you can attack them is on the ground. So there's that. But go ahead.
Yeah, so last week he had 100. He being Jaleel McLaughlin had 104 total yards and a touchdown last week. The problem is if Javonte Williams plays this week, he's sharing the backfield with two other running backs. And again, it is against the Jets. I expect them to be much better than what you're talking about as far as how they've been against run. Their front four is absolutely phenomenal. I'm going with Pacheco. It should be a good game. I expect a lot of high scoring. Pacheco is getting a career high 3 targets per game, which I absolutely love. His touches have increased each game from the start of the seasons. So they both got tough matchups. I just like Isaiah Pacheco to score better than I do Jaleel McLaughlin.
Iggy, you agree?
Living in Colorado, dude, there's a lot of definitely more hype around Jaleel right now, but I do think Pacheco's just earned that right. I have him in my starting lineups in leagues I have him in. I'm not too scared of Minnesota. The only thing that scares me is Minnesota has like 0 secondary. So those people like the people that are going to be lined up in against the cornerbacks and the safeties are going to have advantages right off the jump for Kansas City. But Pacheco, if they get ahead, play with the positive game script, he's probably going to see a lot more action. So I like Pacheco.
And Rich.
Iggy, do you have any insight if Javonte's in or out today?
No, not this morning. I kind of woke up and just immediately put on the game, to be honest. So I don't have any more information than you guys would have.
Yeah, just a game time decision at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going Pacheco. He is the starting running back. He's slowly but surely been picking up more shares every game and everything. If you check out me and Jason's rankings this week, I do have him ranked in the top 10 this week. Look, even if they do get up early, because Chiefs do and stuff like that, look, they'll lean on him and stuff like that. But even if Minnesota makes their comeback attempt like they usually do every week and stuff, he's going to be involved because he has been involved in that passing game. So McKinnon is there too to kind of steal from that. But it kind of seems like Pacheco's kind of slowly but surely taking even some of those shares too. So I'm going Pacheco.
Yeah, him catching the ball out of the backfield is even just 3 receptions a game. Like it's, I remember last year the over-under for him was set at like half a lot of times for receptions. And he's been beating that week in and week out. And if he can give you that week in and week out, then he's pretty much a must start because he always runs hard. Yes. I mean, the guy just runs angry. And then if he can throw in a couple of receptions, especially in the PPR, then you're good as gold. So I think that's all 4 of us for Pacheco. Let's see, another one for Chris. We got Flowers, Michael Wilson, or Jameson Williams. Rich, I haven't started with you first, so let's go with you first.
Yeah, so I am so tempted to start Michael Wilson and everything. He looks like he's starting to take – he's coming in as a rookie, but looked real good last week and everything. But I can't start him over Zay Flowers. Flowers is just – and maybe you can, I don't know. But Zay Flowers is my choice. Jameson Williams, I would love to see what he's going to do. I know Amon's out. Gibbs is out and everything. So he's going to have, obviously, some great opportunity here. But I just want to see what he does first. So I'm going to go Zay Flowers in this pick.
George.
Sorry, I was getting questions from one of the guys that was texting it to me. So I'm not starting Jameson Williams. Last year, even though he was completely healthy, he only averaged 1 target a game. So I want to see what he has. I'm not trusting him right out the gate, even with no Amon St. Brown. I just can't do it. Michael Wilson is a good play, but I'm assuming this Flowers is Zay Flowers from the Broncos, or not the Broncos, the Ravens. And that's where I would absolutely go. The Steelers allow the 4th most yards and 2nd most touchdown to opposing wide receivers. Steelers are tied for 4th most fantasy points given up per game to wide receivers. And Zay Flowers is also tied for 4th in red zone targets. So there's no way I can sit him in this game.
Iggy.
Yeah, I was pretty much right there. I was looking at the stats, and I just remember the Steelers have given up big chunks to their secondary. Patrick Peterson's way too old. Porter Jr. is way too young. Nika Fitzpatrick's just helping in the run support a lot. So it's just that secondary is very exposed. So it'd be hard for me not to start Zay Flowers. I think he has, if like Jameson Williams might have the higher ceiling because he can catch 2 bombs and make a touchdown. So if you're trying to get like a big upside guy, I would go with that maybe. But I think Zay Flowers scores a touchdown this week, and I think he gets a lot of yards. So it seems like a much higher and safer floor with almost a higher ceiling. So I'm going Flowers.
It's very close for me, and I can see myself saying Michael Wilson a few times today. I won't say it over Zay Flowers. The only thing I worry about here with Zay Flowers at all is you do have Odell Beckham Jr. coming back. You have Rashad Bateman coming back. It's the first time with all the weapons, I think, since week 1. And yeah, Zay Flowers was the guy week 1, but you never know week from week if it's going to be Andrews or you potentially one of these other guys. So that would be my only potential hesitation. Flowers is the number 1 there. So, you're hoping to get from Michael Wilson what you've been getting week in and week out when he's been good for for Zay Flowers. So like it is Zay Flowers here. Again, Jameson Williams, the only way I play him is, again, if you play against DJ Moore Fields, you've got to take the top off. I don't see either Flowers or Michael Wilson having like a giant explosive game, but at that point you're just chasing a lot of points that we haven't actually seen in his history. Now I will say it looks like Amon-Ra St. Brown is not playing and Jahmyr Gibbs is not playing. They do have other options. So, it's not like Jameson Williams has to come in and be big, but like there's a possibility there, right? With those 2 potentially not playing today. So just a thought, but Flowers for the 4 of us. Moving on, Chris's video says love or...
Nope. Before we get to this question,
right.
You jumped right into the questions and you forgot the show tradition, and I'm not going to stand by and let you not do it. You need to ask us the question you ask us every week before we start the show.
All right. Okay. I'll stop the questions. I'll hide this for now.
You should have done that to start the show. Then we wouldn't have to hide the questions.
I'm going to start with Iggy. I'm going to say, Iggy, which game, aside from this one in London, are you most excited to watch? I mean, honestly, can any of us not say Sunday Night Football? Is any of us going to not say Dallas versus the 49ers? Raise your hand if you're not saying Dallas and the 49ers. And I'm not letting you pick your own teams because that's cheating. So, okay, we'll go George because but it can't be the Dolphins. Who is it if it's not the 49ers, Dallas?
Chiefs Vikings is going to be a really good game this afternoon.
I agree, but it's not Dallas versus all right, Iggy.
Go ahead.
Game you're most excited about aside from the Niners and the Cowboys?
Well, my team's the Packers, so I'm definitely stoked about the Packers. Raiders. I kind of like the Raiders too. So that's not that. It's just a cool game, Las Vegas. I think that's what I'm most looking forward to. But yeah, of course, this San Francisco Cowboy match. I think it'll be interesting to watch.
And then Rich.
Man, I mean, Iggy already said the game I want to watch is on Monday night and everything. The bad thing about it is I won't be able to watch it because I'll be at my son's football game too. But I want to see. Actually, to be honest with you, I want to see the Carolina-Detroit game. I know you ain't got some of your game changers in there and everything, but I want to see how Montgomery's gonna continue his dominance from last week and everything. And Carolina, you know what? I just want to see more of Bryce Young and Thielen being rejuvenated over there in Carolina. So I do like that game, to be honest with you.
And I'll throw out Rams Eagles. Seems like it could be super entertaining. Like seeing Cooper Kupp back on the field, and how Puka Nacua does with Cooper Kupp on the field. Is he going to become Robert Woods from a couple of years ago and be a number 2, or is he going to fade away? Seems like he's going to be too good to just fade out, right? So, very good week for football. We've had a couple of weeks of pretty bad matchups. So this one's going to be, the least interesting game of the week is probably New Orleans, New England. Does anybody really want to watch that? Anybody at all? All right. We had Nino come in and comment and say we're killing it. Thank you for jumping in, Nino. Good to hear from you as always. Chris's videos. Now we can get to the question. Thank you, George, for reminding me. Chris's videos. Love or Stafford? And I'm going to go back to our guest with Iggy because he's a Packers fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good problem to be in. I don't think you're going to really have a wrong answer here. The Eagles have just been making quarterbacks look like all pros against them, though. I'm trying to get the stats up in front of me here, and it's I think Stafford having both of those guys, Higbee, Kayvon Williams on. I just think that he's a full go. I got him in a couple super flex leagues playing. So as much as I love Love, man, I think Love is probably due for a 2 or 3 touchdown game as well. I just think Stafford could have another 350-yard game and 3 touchdowns. So I go with the upside. I'm going with Stafford.
All right, and I'm gonna jump over to Frito over there because Love's playing against his team is playing against Love. So let's see if he can stomach picking Love or if he's going with Stafford.
Nah, I'm going Stafford, man. I think I won't be surprised. I'd be surprised if we don't have more questions about Cup. Do we start him with Puka in there or vice versa and stuff like that? I want to see what Stafford is going to do with these two. I know I came across a question earlier this week in our Gilded chat where we're talking about tight ends, and Higbee is gonna have some great opportunity, some very valuable opportunity with these two on the. I just want to see how this is gonna pan out. Who I really think I'm more excited to watch about in this game is Kyron Williams. The opportunity he's gonna get with all this options around him, taking that the corners and everything deep and everything. So I like to see how he's going to fit into this game plan. So Stafford's going to have a great game with all these options. Now it's crazy how last year we were talking Rams are going to be slowly declining and everything, but all of a sudden they reset. They find a star in Puka and everything. And I mean, am I crazy not to think now they have a great opportunity to make a run for the playoffs and everything?
I think they have a great opportunity. I mean, as a wild card, and especially because the NFC is not particularly strong, like they have a definite case for wild card. I wouldn't be surprised if 3 teams come out of the West, 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Rams as well. The interesting part here for me is that Stafford is as good as they've looked. He's only got 3 touchdowns. Now a lot of that's giving the ball to Kyron, but the Eagles are, I think, the 3rd best against the running back position for fantasy. George will probably clean that up if I'm wrong there. But so his touchdowns have been limited. It is a get-right game against the Eagles in a secondary that's been dreadful. But I am going to take Love in this matchup because I think the Raiders have been bad against quarterbacks as well. I think Love's looked good and thrown 2 or 3 touchdowns in most games. I want the touchdown upside with Love over the potential yards for Stafford. And George.
Yeah, so going back to the 2021 season, Matthew Stafford hasn't posted more than 2 games with 20-plus fantasy points in his last 17 outings. So he's not getting the job done. Yes, he's thrown for over 300 yards 3 times this season, but as Jason mentioned earlier, he's only got 3 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. He's just not getting the job done. And now getting Cooper Kupp back, yes, that will help. For sure it will. But I'm going to go with the guy that's got even the better matchup is going to be Jordan Love going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. In his worst outing this year, in 4-point passing touchdown leagues, Jordan Love had 19.6 points. That's the worst outing. It was his first game last week was his first game under 26.3 fantasy points. So he's absolutely been going out there crushing it. The Vegas Raiders have allowed 3 quarterbacks in a row, Josh Allen, the runaway fantasy MVP Kenny Pickett, and Justin Herbert, to score at least 22.5 fantasy points. Love has got top 10 upside. I cannot say that about Stafford. I'm going to go with Jordan Love here.
Man.
All right. So Chris, we've got 2 and 2, but you heard our arguments for both. So it'll be up to you to make your decision from there. My son called out George about being late. So we're just throwing it in there. I don't think he was doing that. I think he wanted me to announce you at that point, but just for fun, I'm going to say he was calling you out. Iggy, if you don't know, my son's 10, so like okay. he's just happy to have his name mentioned. Bobby Ham says, good morning, guys. And then we got a question from Dustin. Pleasure as always to see you on Sunday. One quick question. Start London, Tutu, or Woods, or start 2 and I take JT out of the flex. Feel like I'm definitely going to play JT, though.
Gotta play JT.
You got to play JT, especially with those options. But so then we've got to start London, Tutu, or Woods, guys. The first gross question, I'm not going to make our guest answer the gross question. I'm gonna go ahead and let George do it.
Oh, well, I appreciate that greatly. Let me see what I typed up about Robert Woods. So,
okay,
I'm actually leaning Robert Woods here over JT, and here's why. The matchup for JT is not exactly great, right?
Like, wait, he's starting. He needs 2 if he needs 2 if he doesn't play JT. So he can play JT and one of these other guys. Are you saying he'd start 2 of these guys over JT?
No. Okay. I misread the question. I thought it was he needed me to pick one. If
he needs one of these guys plus JT.
Yeah, it's JT and Robert Woods.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Iggy, I'll let you go next.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with Tutu. Maybe I just talked about Stafford. I'm sticking to that game plan. I think the Eagles secondary is pretty awful. So even as maybe the 4th option, I think he can have Robert Woods is an excellent blocking wide receiver, okay? That's partially why he was brought to Tennessee to help Derrick Henry, and that's partially why he's in Houston to help that pretty awful run game at the moment. So he's not necessarily the number one option. I think Dell's more of an option there. I think, of course, Nico's more of an option there. So he's still going to be the 3rd option on the team as well. And then London is. I love him. I have him in a lot of best ball, but it is just unpredictable with Arthur Smith in that offense, And I don't hate it. I don't hate what they're doing there. I just, from a fantasy perspective, he could catch 2 touchdowns against Houston, or he could catch 2 catches for 6 yards. So it's just you don't know, and I can't have that in my lineup. I need Tutu, which I think will at least get some separation and some volume from Stafford.
And Rich.
Yeah, so a couple facts real quick. George does a great job of giving us the info. Nico Collins, number 7 receiver in fantasy points. Tank Dale since week 2, number 17 in yards per route run and leads the team in deep routes. But Robert Woods leads the Texans in target shares. The weak link on the Falcons defense is D. Wolford, who allows 77.3% catch rate and 123% passer rating when targeted. I know the talk has been about Tank Dell and Nico Collins, how they've been doing, but look, Robert Woods is a veteran in this offense and everything. And I do like Tutu and stuff like that, but I just don't know what to expect with them, with Cup being back. So in this case, I'm leaning Robert Woods.
Yeah, look, this is going to be another one of those where I split it down the middle. If you need a high-end play, Tutu probably will catch a big bomb or 2, but I worry about his productivity with both Cup and Puka on the field. And then you have Higbee as well. So, there's 3 PPR, target machines. So I don't think that leaves a lot for Tutu, except for, a couple of passes deep down the field a couple of times for the game. Again, that brings upside, right? Because it could be a long pass for a touchdown. But again, if you need a safe floor and potential for a decent target share, I think Robert Woods is your guy. I think Tutu's floor is a 0, where Woods' floor is 7 or 8, up to 10, right? So I think, it really does depend on your matchup this weekend, whether you need a floor or a ceiling. If you need a ceiling, I'd probably go Tutu. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, so Iggy made a great point and stuff like that about, Robert Woods being a great blocking receiver. The great thing about blocking receivers is they're on the field more than everybody else and everything, which helps him in that aspect and stuff like that. So a great point by Iggy and stuff like that, which even kind of feeds in. Look, he's going to be on the field a lot more than maybe Tutu.
All right, so that's 3 for Woods, 1 for Tutu. Chris's video says, in my Zay Flowers question above, would you change anything for Khalif Raymond? And that was would you start? So basically, we all pick Zay Flowers. Would you play Khalif Raymond this week with all the Lions being out for Khalif Raymond? I think I still go with Flowers. George?
I'm still going with Flowers. That's not going to make me change my mind.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, this is the week that you would even counter think about it and stuff like that. But you have to go Zay Flowers.
Iggy?
Yeah, it's Flowers. Pretty easy one for me.
Yeah. And then Bobby Ham says, drop Daniel Jones for Kyle Pitts, half PPR only, have Logan Thomas and tight end and Jordan Love as my QB, but he's on bye next week. Look, no, I mean, I'm not totally against dropping Daniel Jones. Don't get me wrong. But Kyle Pitts is the 29th tight end on the year. There's not an upside there. There's a reason why he was drafted in the 4th or 5th round and he's sitting on your waiver wire. It's because he's been unplayable. You know, if
there's one position we got to stay away from the 29th ranked person, it's the tight end.
Okay. Look, go get Jonnu. I would take Jonnu Smith off the waiver wire this week over picking up Kyle Pitts. It just is what it's gross, but it is what it is.
Yeah, you guys
want to hear something? You guys want to hear something fun?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
Something fun. Tell me which tight end you would rather have. The one that has 18 targets the last 3 weeks and is ranked 33rd amongst all tight ends, or the guy that has 20 targets the last 3 weeks and had ran routes on less than 60% of his snaps, but still had a huge week. Which one of those would you choose?
I mean, I'm taking the second one because he has more points.
One with the most upside, the second one, yeah.
So the one with the most upside is actually the first one because that's Kyle Pitts. The other one was Jonnu Smith. It's like we're playing tight end by committee right now in Atlanta, and as you guys mentioned, like we don't know. Just Kyle Pitts has been absolutely ruined by Arthur Smith, and I just, as somebody who has Kyle Pitts in a bunch of leagues, like I am regretting that I didn't start Logan Thomas over him this week. So, yeah, I'm not dropping Daniel Jones for Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is a landmine. Let somebody else pick him up, put them in their lineup, and get absolutely no production from him.
Yeah, he's bad.
Just bad. William, trade question. Would you trade Aaron Jones for James Conner? Let's assume it's redraft because it doesn't say. I'm going to assume it's redraft, although it's old running backs either way. But George, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think I would actually do this. I think if you ask me who I'd rather have, Aaron Jones or James Conner, I think I'm leaning James Conner. He's been playing better than Aaron Jones, and so far this year, I mean, he's just been the better player. I want the better player on my team. I'm going to go with James Conner.
Iggy?
Which is not something I would have thought in the preseason.
Yeah, I think I want to have Aaron Jones. They got a bye week coming up after this. But it's like 6 one way, half a dozen the other for me. I mean, if it's PPR, I might give a slight tilt to Aaron Jones for that reason. But I think they're both great NFL running backs. I don't think you really, it depends on what you want.
And then Rich.
Yeah, I mean that both of them are going to be like ranked right next to each other and stuff. Even if you did weekly rankings and stuff like we do, I mean, it's really going to depend. It really depends on the matchup and everything. I know Jones has been hurt and everything, but before this year and stuff like that, who would you have picked? You would have picked Aaron Jones and stuff like that because of his opportunities and stuff like that in the receiving game. But Conner has looked. I mean, he's looked great out there. I mean, he's another running back that's been running angry in the games and everything every time I see him. So. Look, this is a tough one, but look, if you're just trading running back for running back, I'd rather you stick with Aaron Jones.
Yeah, it's not often you see a 1v1 running back for running back trade. I'm used to seeing like a running back and a piece for another running back or a running back for a wide receiver. I mean, these, like everybody's mentioned, these guys are pretty closely aligned. I'm going to split it too, because I'm going to say, we had 2 people saying Jones and 2 people saying Conner, and I think that that just lends to how close this trade actually is. It's kind of like you're getting a player back that you just gave up almost. It's very Very even trade, which is good because like if you both want it, like that's good for both teams. But I'm gonna say Connor, and then you can decide based on the reasons you heard here. So Daniel Jones, Bobby Ham says Daniel Jones at Buffalo, Commanders, Jets the next 3 weeks. Is he even worth a roster spot? In a 1-quarterback league, like you can drop Daniel Jones. It's not like he's giving you anything to hang your hat on, except a second half against the Cardinals a couple of weeks ago. So it's not like you have to. It's not like you have to hold on to him in a 1-quarterback league because you know what? If you want to go pick him up, he'll probably be there. The Commanders' defense didn't look very good against Fields the other night, so that gives you hope for that game potentially. But there has been nothing on the Giants side of the ball that should give you hope whatsoever. So I'm not saying you shouldn't play him or start him or drop him is what I meant. Sorry, I'm not saying you shouldn't drop him, but like not for Kyle Pitts. How about that? George, you say you have a text question. I saw that in the private chat. Why don't you go ahead and get to that one, and then we'll get back to the questions in here.
Okay. So our guy Armand, he wants to know if he should trade Keenan Allen before he gets hurt or just to sell high on him because he's the number 1 wide receiver in his league right now. He didn't tell me who he would trade him for. He didn't tell me any other information other than he wants to know if he should trade Keenan Allen.
Well, one, he should be in here asking the question. So that's something you need to work on because he should be watching us here. But 2, I mean, in a fishbowl, go ahead and go ahead and trade Keenan Allen and go get, Justin Jefferson for him. But like, if you don't offer what you can get, I'm willing to trade anybody as long as the price is right.
Yeah.
I don't worry about his injury. I don't worry about the injury concern because those are fluke things. And yes, he's been injured in multiple years, but that's not a reason I'm trading him away. I'm trading him away if I can get talent back for him. Everybody kind of agree with that? Like without a more in-depth question, it's kind of hard to answer that besides saying yes.
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, just looking at throughout his career, like the narrative that he's just going to get injured or always injured is not necessarily true. Like, yeah, he was injured, last year. He missed a handful of games last year. He played a full season before that. He missed 3 games the year before that. He played a full season the year before that. Missed 2 games, missed 1 game. Like this narrative that Keenan Allen is going to get injured or is always injured, I'm not a big fan of it. Like, I don't think it's an actual true narrative. I think stuff happens. I think he's had 2 very fluky injuries throughout his career, one of them being his appendix bursting. Like, that's not something that happens on the field. That's just an absolute fluke. So if it was me, and I've got Keenan Allen all over the place, and I know that Armin's talking about his league is a redraft league. It's not a dynasty league. I'm keeping Keenan Allen unless I can get top-tier talent in return for him.
All right. So with that, question comes in from Black Body Absorber. And Iggy, I know you can't stay throughout the whole show, so just let us know when you need to tap out, and we'll give you time to plug again and go from there. But I'm going to start with you since we still got you. Am I crazy to consider playing Spears over Ramondre Stevenson in a league? One league is a full PPR, one's a half PPR. So he's got this question in both. Is he crazy?
I'm not crazy, I mean, you might be crazy, but you're not for that reason. I will have to see how that pans out. But I mean, I wouldn't do it personally. Ramondre has definitely been disappointing. But I want to say Keenan Allen is one of my trade targets, even though he's at all-time high. If I can get him on the cheap on the bye week, somebody needs something, I'm giving up 2 for 1, whatever I got to do to go get that guy, because the Chargers secondary is not good, and they're not going to be able to just blow people away and blow them out. But with that, I just think I wouldn't do it personally. I would go with Ramondre. The Patriots have who are they playing this week? I forgot.
The Saints. It's not a good matchup.
Yeah, it's not a great matchup. But I think there's potential for Ramondre to make a big play or two, because Mac Jones, man, they can't just keep handing him the ball in like pressure situations. They gotta lean on that running game some more. And Ezekiel Elliott proved he didn't have it last week against Dallas. So I think that there's more upside there. But Spears is seeing a lot of, third down action, so it could be he's getting quite a bit of timeshare, which I think is helping Henry actually. So I don't think he'd be crazy for doing it. I personally am going to go Ramondre though.
And let's go with Rich.
Yeah, man, if you're crazy, I'm crazy because I might be doing that too, just because of what the situation is with New England and stuff like that with Ramondre. Look, I got him in a lot of leagues, and I'm actually benching him right now for other players and everything because I just don't know what to expect with him right now, and I'd rather have that disappointment on my bench than a disappointment that I had some great options on the bench that I could easily switch out everything. Spears has that opportunity. He has been getting more touches than Henry and everything, if you really sit there and think about it. But Henry did look good last week and everything. So you just don't know and stuff like that. In my case, I know Iggy said he would hold off on doing that. Maybe in my case and stuff like that. It really depends on how crazy you are. And I'm a Raiders fan, so I do get pretty crazy. So,
George, you benching Ramondre?
No, not a snowball's chance in hell. Not for Tajay Spears. I mean, listen, Tajay Spears, he's out-snapped Henry a couple of games, but he hasn't had more touches than Henry. The most attempts of rushing the ball he's had on all year in one game is 8. The most yards he's had in a single game is 49. He's got no touchdown. It's Ramondre Stevenson. It's not remotely close for me. The matchup for New England is definitely a tough matchup against the Saints. But Ramondre is getting 18 touches and averaging 62 total yards per game. The problem is he hasn't had really any explosive runs. He's had 0 explosive runs, which are runs over 20 yards. And he's ranked 42nd in the league in broken tackle rate, which is absolutely mind-melting because he was like one of the top 3 or 4 in the league last year in broken tackle rate. So he's just not been what he was last year, but he's going to get the absolute volume. Give me the guy getting 18 touches versus a guy whose career high in touches is 8. I want the guy getting the more touches.
Yeah, I agree there. You look at it and he hasn't been good, so you do want to bench him. I don't think for me the line is Spears. I think it's a little higher than Spears. I can see myself putting Ramondre on the bench, depending on the matchup. But like for me, the line isn't there. Although, like Rich said, Spears has looked good in limited touches when he gets it. He just isn't getting with Henry looking better. He's not going to get the volume that I think Ramondre is going to get. Give me the option for the touches, and then I like Iggy said, I think the Saints have the opportunity to embarrass Jones, so that they probably want to keep it out of his hands a bit. So for me, it's going to be Ramondre, and that's 3, 2, 1. So Black Body Armor also asks, Love or CJ Stroud 6-point touchdowns?
And
then Iggy, I know this is your last question. I'm going to start with you.
Okay, yeah, I'll just go Stroud. I mean, I love Love. You guys gave all the upside, all the reasons. I hope Green Bay wins. Awesome. I can show you my little Green Bay section I do for that podcast. It's all over there. I'm a huge Green Bay guy. But I just got to go with Stroud. I mean, until he gives me a reason to show me that he can't achieve what he's been achieving, then I'll think about it. But he's built up to the living. He's putting that Ohio State quarterback narrative to rest, at least for now. I think he's just a guy. And I think DeMeco Ryans is a good head coach. Okay, I think he's a little. He learned from Kyle Shanahan being over there. I think he picked up a few things, and Houston looks good. Like we talked about, Atlanta after a game in London, I think that's going to be a little hard on them as well. So give me Stroud.
All right, and Rich.
Yeah, I think Iggy said it clearly for all of us and everything. Look, Stroud is ranked, 4th right now amongst QBs? Is that what we got on here? Yeah, I mean, it looks excellent, and he got great young talent behind him that could explode every week and everything. It's hard to really decide on which one of those targets you're going to choose every week, but he's the benefactor of all that options and stuff like that. So I have to go Stroud in this case.
And George.
Yeah, so I love both of these options. Feet to the fire, I'm going to go with Jordan Love. Like I said earlier, I think the potential for him to be a top 7 to 8 quarterback this week going up against the 27th ranked Las Vegas Raiders is a matchup that I absolutely love. I agree with everything these guys have said about CJ Stroud, though. He scored at least 24.6 fantasy points in 3 games in a row. He hasn't thrown an interception. He hasn't been sacked the past 2 games against Jacksonville and Pittsburgh. Like Rich said, his wide receiver core is playing phenomenal with Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and Robert Woods. The matchup is a pretty good matchup with the Falcons coming back from Jordan Love and Jared Goff both scored at least 20 points against the Falcons. All of that is absolutely correct. All of that is in CJ Stroud's favor. I love both of these quarterbacks. You're not going to go wrong with either one, but I think I'm going to go with Jordan Love here. I just think the matchup is a better matchup.
So the tough part for me is I have Love ranked 1 spot higher than Stroud. So ideally here I would say Love, but that doesn't help. That really does, like I've got him back to back. Ideally that doesn't help Black Body Absorber because then it would be.
Listen, my case wasn't my case wasn't against CJ Stroud. It's right. Like I want to play both of these guys. You're not going to go wrong playing either one.
Here's the game changer, the game breaker that makes decide it. Go Love because it's on Monday Night Football and it's against the Raiders.
Well, it makes it so you can actually, if you're not a fan of either team, that you can stomach watching it, I guess, right? But yeah. I'm gonna say CJ Stroud to make it 3-1, but man, it's so close for me that and like I said, I do have Love ranked 1 spot higher. I'm gonna say CJ Stroud to make it 3-1. So we're not giving off 2-2 ties. Iggy, I know you've got you got to run, you got to go do your own thing, but we do appreciate you coming on. Why don't you let everybody who's watching know where they can find you and get more of your content?
Yeah, Dennis, thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun. I hope your fantasy lineups do well. Find me at IDP_Iggy on the X, formerly Twitter. Their website's the Sports Affiliation. I got over 100 articles over there as well. And I do cover the Denver Nuggets as well. I'll probably be doing a podcast, every game that the Nuggets have this season. It was fun to watch them during the championship run. So follow me at IDP_Iggy and go follow us at the Sports Affiliation. You can find it on Spotify and we're on YouTube, just all under the Sports Affiliation. That's our brand. And yeah, come check us out. Come have fun, talk fantasy, talk betting, talk basketball, even if you want. And I appreciate you guys having me on.
I have to ask one last question before we let him go. Is Zamboni, man? Give us the story behind that, man, because I love that video.
Yeah, dude. This town I've worked in Parks and Rec for about almost 7 years now. So I just took off all kinds of various jobs, and they were like, "Hey, you want to go, be a manager at the ice rink a couple nights a week?" I was like, "Sure." You gotta learn to drive the Zamboni, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." So I've been doing that now. I've been working at the rink almost 7 years, but the Zamboni I've been driving 3, and it's pretty cool. It's everybody loves a Zamboni driver, and it's a unique experience. So I'll plan on doing some basketball bets on the Zamboni. So nice. That'll be kind of an interesting little mix up.
I've got to ask you one because it wouldn't be title time if we didn't ask a food question. Favorite food to eat directly out of a can?
To eat directly out of a can. Oh man, I guess it's been a while since I've done that, but it'd have to be corn, I guess, for me. Okay.
I can respect. I mean, look, it's not SpaghettiOs or mini raviolis or whatever, but I can respect the corn game.
I mean, if sardines count, definitely sardines, but I don't know if those.
No, they count. You eat them right out of a tin. It counts.
No, yeah, definitely sardines, and I've been actually craving some sardines lately. But yeah, it's that's probably my go-to then, if that counts, because I've ate a lot of sardines in my life.
All right. Well, look, you didn't say tuna fish, so you are allowed back on the show. We appreciate you taking the time this morning. Thank you for coming on. Hope you have a good Sunday. Hope your rosters do well, man. Thank you.
Hey, George, Jason, and Richard, thank you guys. You guys have a wonderful day.
You as well.
Thanks,
Thank you. All right, guys, we can move on. Chris's videos says he had Fields and more, so congratulations on your victory.
Yes. Congratulations on your Thursday win.
You can go do whatever you want today. You don't have to watch any football. And then let's see. This one's a tough one. I actually have this issue in one of my leagues as well because Miami is available, but I have the Ravens and I don't really want to drop them. But Ravens defense versus Pittsburgh and an injured but still playing Kenny Pickett, or the Dolphins versus the can't get out of their own way, can't score except for in one half, historically low in scoring New York Giants, who just allowed 11 sacks to Seattle. So, guys, I'm going to start with George because the Dolphins are involved.
Yeah, for me, this is going to be it's the Ravens. I'm not dropping the Ravens for the Dolphins. In your case, Jason, give me the Ravens against an injured Kenny Pickett, and just ride that out.
Yeah, I settled on this when I thought it was going to be Mitch Trubisky, and I'm even happier now that it's an injured Kenny Pickett. So for me, I'm keeping. If you had to drop the Ravens, I wouldn't do that. If you had to drop the Dolphins, which I can't imagine that you played the Dolphins against Buffalo last week, but if you had to drop the Dolphins to get the Ravens, I probably wouldn't do that. I probably would do that, actually. But Rich, Ravens, Dolphins?
Man, how do you not pick the Dolphins against a team that just gave up how many sacks?
11.
11. Gosh dang. Yeah, I mean, it ain't gonna be any actually, it's going to be the same kind of results probably in this game. I mean, Dolphins defense ain't bad, right, George?
No, they've been pretty bad this year. Gave up a ton of passing yards to who did we play week 1? The Chargers. Did okay, week 2 in New England. They've been bad. They're like one of the worst defenses right now in the league. I think they're ranked like 26th or 27th overall. Like they're just not playing very good at all right now.
And with that said, that's the reason why I said Ravens defense.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. Look, I think Miami's going to be a good play this week. Not necessarily, but it's not Miami's defense that's going to be great. It's that New York is that inept, and that offensive line is that terrible.
Their starting offensive line is missing 3 starters.
Yeah. So look,
I mean, it's on paper, it should be just Miami should just rout the Giants. They should absolutely rout them. It shouldn't even be close. The defense should be able to get out of its own way and actually get pressure on the quarterback. The problem is as a Dolphins fan, I don't trust the Dolphins to actually be able to do that.
The other thing I can mention, and George can tell me if I'm thinking about this properly, but like the Dolphins' drives aren't like on offense aren't very long. Like they are quick. They are a quick hitting offense. When they score, they score quickly. Unfortunately for them, that puts a defense who again hasn't been great all season on the field a lot, and they get tired. Like time of possession, I feel like for the Dolphins is pretty lopsided, and I don't have that set in front of me, but just like from the feel of the games that I've seen, it feels like the Dolphins defense is on the field a lot because the offense scores so quickly. And that can really screw a defense that has some injuries of their own. I'm especially thinking of Jalen Ramsey, who hasn't played at all. But like when your team's defense isn't great and they have to be on the field a lot, that's not great for your defense. But again, man, that just means Daniel Jones is on the field a lot, and that means that defensive line has a chance to tee off. Again, it's Ravens defense for me, but there is a world in which the Dolphins have a great game because that offense on the other side's bad. But Ravens defense
according to DraftSharks.com, their defensive rankings right now have Baltimore Ravens number 5, and they have the Dolphins this week at number 7.
So both good options. Definitely both should be started. But if you have both, pick the Ravens. All right. Ryan in Pittman versus Nico Collins in PPR. I'll kick this one off. I know Pittman has got 8 receptions in 2 of the last 3 games, and last week was a down week. I can't bench Nico Collins. Nico Collins has been on fire for the last several weeks. I think is he ranked like 7 overall? I'll have to go look at that real quick,
Yes.
but I think he is. Okay. So I will take Nico Collins here over Michael Pittman. And honestly, for me, the way they've been playing, it's not particularly close. Rich, do you agree?
Yeah, 100% agree with it.
And then George.
Yeah, for me, it's Nico Collins as well. He's as you mentioned, Jason, the number 7 overall fantasy wide receiver right now, and he's number 3 in yards per route run in the NFL. I'm waiting for Nico Collins to turn into Nico Collins, but until Nico Collins turns into Nico Collins, I'm playing Nico Collins.
So George, just some information for you for our charity. A couple of years ago on speculation, I bought a Nico Collins signed football for $15 in case he became good. We may get to cash in on that as a prize. Just saying.
ROI.
some spec on a guy who a cheap prize. So look out for that. If he stays playing very well, we'll have a Nico Collins signed football to give away to one of our prize winners. So he's left already, but Black Body Absorber says a fellow Coloradian. I don't know how they say that up there in Colorado. They're all high. Who knows? Coloradan. I don't like that. It should be Coloradian.
There's no I.
Guy from Colorado. Dustin Hetrich. One more. Frank Rules. You know, I have to admit, you guys, I failed this week because during this week I was supposed to go pull the audio of Justin saying that he'd play Sutton, and then I would play it every time we got a Sutton question. I failed in that this week, so I apologize to you and to the people listening. I will have that done this week so we can play it next week. However, Dustin is asking a question with Sutton in there. One more Frankenstank rules. So if you guys don't know, Frankenstank is if you aren't part of it, Frankenstank is our listener league. And it's got all kinds of crazy rules for first downs, rules for carries, rules for, targets, that kind of stuff. So like the rules here are different, but play Burrito, Sutton, or Gallup, and I will start. I think Gallup has looked like the best of the 3. Sutton has been bailed out by 3 touchdowns. I want to play Gallup here. So, and also have we heard whether Saquon's playing yet? Has that come out?
No, we should know here very, very soon. If Saquon's out, 100% go with Matt Burrito.
There you go.
But as of right now, we don't know. As for both of these options, man, his team has been ravaged. It had to have been for these to be the 2 options. Cortland Sutton, he predominantly plays on the same side as Sauce Gardner, who, from what I've been told by my Twitter feed by lunatic Jet fans, that is actually the best cornerback to ever play the game. Deion Sanders looks up to Sauce Gardner. That's how good Sauce Gardner is. So I'm not going to play Sutton. I'm going to go with Michael Gallup.
And Rich.
Yeah, it's Gallup if Barkley's out, because if Barkley's out, I'm playing Breida.
There you go. And I think that'll be all 3 of us. If Barkley's, I mean, it's not like Breida has been good, even with the attempts, but playing against the Dolphins this week, we've talked about their defense not being great, particularly not being great against the run. I think Breida can get some play, and he's going to have volume if Saquon's out. So if Saquon's out, Breida. If not, Gallup.
I think Breida gets a little bit of run, even if Saquon is not out, to be honest. The rumor is he's got a high ankle sprain. I just can't imagine he's going to be back to full strength. So I still think Breida gets a little bit of run, even if
I just don't want I don't want a part of a share of a bad offense. If you know what I mean, like if it's not all Breida, I don't want it.
Yeah, but they're playing such a bad Miami run defense.
Listen, I get it. This one's interesting. This one's interesting. Can you sit the guy who's been hot? Is the question here. You got to choose 3: Kamara, Kyron, A-Chain, and Mixon in a full PPR. This is from Minnie Jordan. George, I'll start with you.
All right, let me look up because I've narrowed it down already just to one.
I know
One or two.
who I'm sitting already, and it's the guy who's been hot.
I feel like I'm sitting Joe Mixon.
I am not,
really?
but I'm sitting Kyron against the Eagles, who's giving up the third fewest points against to running backs. I'm absolutely sitting Kyron because running backs have done nothing against the Eagles. But I want to hear what Rich has to say.
I was actually leaning Mixon too because I know it's a tough matchup against the Eagles and everything, but I think because of the passing game, it opens up opportunity for him to get some maybe one or two good runs in there. But I like him out of the backfield. He has been utilized out of the backfield and everything, so that's the only reason why I'm going. I'm going to be benching Mixon. I'm going with the first three.
So I'm actually going to switch mine to Kyron. Eagles are only allowing 2.9 yards per touch to running backs. They've only allowed 84 combo yards to running backs on average, and they've only given up one touchdown to opposing running backs on the ground all season. So, yeah, I'm gonna shy away from Kyron Williams, and I'm gonna go with go ahead and start Mixon. Mixon, he's great. He's got the fewest air yards in the NFL, which is very concerning. I think he's only averaging like 1.2 air yards per pass attempt that's thrown to him, which is, Joe Burrow's barely getting it past the offensive line at that point. But the Cardinals are allowing 140 rushing and receiving yards and 2 touchdowns per games to running backs. So if he's not getting it done in the air, I think he'll at least get it done on the ground.
They're giving up the third most points to running backs. The Cardinals are. That's one place that you can really pick on the Cardinals is in the running game, which is why, I love what Kyron's doing. He's played well. We all thought it was going to be Cam Akers doing this. It obviously wasn't. It has been Kyron, and he's done well with the ability or with the attempts he has. It's just against that Eagles defense. I don't want it. The funny thing we all saw, last week I picked pretty heavily against Kamara. And the Bucs did what I thought they would do with him, except you can't really account for like a guy who's going to catch the ball 13 times for 30 some odd yards, 34 yards. Like the defense did what I thought they would do against him, but man, that's a full 13 points just because of receptions. Even if he only got at least, like you talk about no air yards, 13 receptions, 34 yards. That's god awful.
That's bad. So that's bad. Just a couple of updates, Jason, who's in, who's out. As of just a few minutes ago, J.C. Jackson is expected to be active today for the Patriots against the Saints. Do with that what you may. Jahmyr Gibbs officially inactive. Amon-Ra St. Brown officially inactive. Jameson Williams is officially active. So there's that, and then just so you guys know, Calvin Ridley is being evaluated for a concussion over in London.
I just saw.
Oh, and Odell Beckham is active this week.
Another watch out is Chris Olave in warmups might have sprained his ankle and everything. So don't know what's going to happen there, but you might want to pivot and once anything comes out on that.
All right, so for Mini Jordan, 2 of us said sit Kyron, 1 of us said Mixon, although I feel like Rich was kind of on the fence there too. So 2-1 though. Brandon Williams, Sutton or see, I swear to God, I wish I had that drop. Sutton or Tank Dell. I'm gonna start with Rich on this one.
Going Dell. Look, surprisingly, I've been picking Sutton all year and stuff in some of these questions and stuff like that, but they are going against the Jets defense. And like I said, we've been preaching Dale this morning. Anytime a Houston question comes up and everything. So it would be Dale in this case.
George.
Yeah, I agree with Rich. For me, it's going to be Tank Dell. I'm not a fan that there's a good chance Courtland Sutton gets to see the legend that is Sauce Gardner all weekend long. Since week 2, Tank Dell has been number 17 in yards per route run and leads the team in deep routes. The only downfall with his production so far is he's only had 1 red zone target on the season. So he's not being targeted on the red zone, but he's definitely getting targets down the field. And if I'm not mistaken, Atlanta, they give up on average 13 yards per reception on their defense. So you got a guy who's averaging 17 yards per route run. Atlanta's giving up yards per reception. It should mesh for him to have a pretty good week.
Barkley officially inactive.
Barkley's, yep. I was just about to say that.
I had to go change some lineups, man. All right. Mini Jordan 718. Oh, I'm gonna say I agree with you guys. I'm gonna run with Tank Dell this week over Sutton against the Jets. So Mini Jordan 718, full PPR, Romeo Dubs or Christian Watson. Teammates. I have this in a couple spots because I drafted Christian Watson, but was lucky enough to pick up Dubs. I guess I'll start. Look, the more productive guy, the guy who's had obviously more receptions, even when they've been in the game together, the guy that Love looks towards in PPR has been Romeo Dubs. Now, Christian Watson has the talent and can get a touchdown at any given moment. We saw that last year for sure. But man, him and Dubs and Love seem to have had chemistry this year, and I think I'm going to stick with that until I see it going the other way. So for me, it's Romeo Dubs. And I see Rich nodding, so I'll let Rich go next.
Yeah. I'm going for same thing, everything you said and stuff like that. Dubs he's been getting it done and stuff. I know Breed has been involved in everything. I just wanted to look to keep on riding Dubs right now.
And George.
This is a tough one. I want to go with Romeo Dubs. Like Christian Watson's been good, but I feel like Jordan Love has just been targeting Romeo Dubs a lot more. I'm going with Romeo Dubs on this one.
Okay.
And I want to give a quick shout out to Justin, our fearless leader, who just texted me and let me know that I had an illegal Frankenstein lineup.
Me as well.
So I had to go in and change it.
Yeah,
I had. So I went by the thing on the app here. It says 2 to 7 wide receivers. So I only put 2 of them in, and apparently I had to start 3, which I don't know why they don't say 3 then, but whatever.
Yeah, I had the same exact issue, which doesn't make me super happy because I have to make decisions.
I blame Justin. Well, I took out Gus Edwards, who I like this week, and I had to put in Rondell Moore.
I'm actually having to pick up a wide receiver because I got guys on bye. So
same here.
I just picked up Robert Woods. So anyway,
fantastic.
Based off that conversation we had earlier. Anyway, Brandon Williams, now that we're not talking about our teams, but again, thank you, Justin. I appreciate the heads up. Brandon Williams, Henry, Connor, Mostert, Kyron, start 2. I think we're all, based off that last conversation, probably going to bench Kyron this week, based off his matchup. So, and I think we're all going to play Henry, who was in the Flames last week, right? Like, we're not going to sit him after that performance. So now it's Connor and Mostert. But I'll let you answer whether you want Henry or not. I see every time I see somebody doing that little dance or nodding or whatever, I got to go to them first. I see Rich over there weighing it out in his mind, and I want to go to Rich while he's thinking to get that thought process. Rich, go ahead.
Well, I'm actually not weighing out my mind. I got to use the restroom, some kind of thing.
Okay, well, I'll go to you so you can run to the restroom.
No, I'm just playing, man. When you said that, I was like, okay, I got to think of something different now. Now I'm going Henry, and I am going Mostert.
And then George.
Yeah, for me, this is...
He needs 3, though. So, and Connor, then. Yeah, Henry, Connor, and Mostert. Gotcha. George? Oh, wait, sorry, you're right. He needs 2. I'm back and forth. Go ahead. He says start 2. So, Henry and Mostert. George?
Henry and Connor.
Oh, so you totally switched it up. Oh, man. Give me your thoughts on Mostert, George, because I want to say Henry and Mostert, but I want you to talk me out of it.
So I'm concerned Mostert's going to take a backseat to Devon Achane, especially after having the 2 fumbles last week. Definitely did not help. help his cause to stay. The matchup is a phenomenal matchup against the Giants. Don't get me wrong. It absolutely is. I just think we're seeing A-Chain slowly take over that starting job, A-Chan take over that starting job, and I don't think he's going to relinquish it. And after having 2 fumbles last week, I don't think I give me the guy that's played 63% of the team's rushing. He's had 63% of the team's rushing attempts, 100% of rushing attempts inside the 5-yard line. Bengals have allowed 2 running backs to surpass 100 yards, and the Ravens combo of Gus Edwards and Justice Hill have combined for over 100 yards against the Bengals as well. So James Conner's sitting on a good day. I feel like he's going to get over 100 total yards. I feel like he's going to get in the end zone. Give me James Conner, because I can't really say I feel that same way about Mostert.
Yeah, I think you convinced me. I was mostly wanting Mostert for the matchup, and I was going to take Mostert because you said A-Chain wrong. You said A-Chain instead of A-Chan. But then when you corrected it, you did totally correct it, which makes me know that you know what you're talking about. And then you convinced me based off the Bengals defense against the rush. And so, they're both good starts this week, but I do think I'm going to take Henry and Connor. We did just get I'm reading through the news. The only thing that we did just get a small drop, most of it's inconsequential. Ramondre Stevens' status has been changed from questionable to healthy. So not on the final injury report. So he's healthy and will be playing today. I don't think any of us thought he wouldn't, but the only bit of news that just dropped that we are, Brandon Williams, keep Jonathan Taylor on IR and play Aaron Jones and Mostert.
How can you keep Jonathan Taylor on IR?
If you don't change your lineup, you can keep him. Like, it depends on which. It depends on which format you're in, but like if you don't have to change your lineup, if you decide you're going to play Mostert and Jones because you don't want to play Taylor his first game back against a good rush defense, it's absolutely a solid, sound strategy, legal. I mean, to be honest, I know you're not. I know you don't like the rule, but it is a rule. But for the players involved, are you a fan? Because I think I'm leaving Jonathan Taylor on the IR his first game back against a bad matchup to play Aaron Jones and Mostert. I want to see how he gets worked in and how he plays with Richardson before I throw him directly in there against the defense he's playing today.
See, I view that as illegal. I view it as cheating. Therefore, I can't sign off on that. So no,
it's not illegal. Listen. The rules state that if you do not take an injured player,
it's a loophole. I know it's a loophole.
So it's not it's not illegal because it's legal.
It is illegal.
It's
illegal because you now have a player who's not on IR who is playing in your IR position. That is illegal. Doesn't matter how we got there.
What is the punishment? What is the punishment for that? What is the punishment for that?
I would give the team a 0 score for the week.
No.
If I was the commissioner.
If that's not a rule you set in your league, because you can't give somebody a 0 if you didn't make that part of the rules before you started the season. What is the current punishment?
I have that as a rule in my leagues.
Okay, but this one doesn't. This one obviously doesn't.
I understand.
All right,
that it's a loophole.
All right, so
it's a loophole. You're arguing loophole.
The current only punishment,
and honestly, it would fall under the integrity of the league. That is a move you do when you have no integrity. I'm sorry, it is what it is.
Listen,
he's healthy.
I know you're pro-tanking.
You know he doesn't belong in Ireland.
I know you're pro-tanking.
I am pro-tanking,
which ruins the integrity of the league. Which isn't.
It does not. If you pay your dues,
Rich, go ahead.
You should be allowed to run your league anyway, good or bad. That is cheating.
Rich, go ahead.
Am I going to be able to get something in?
I'm going to mute myself.
Go ahead. Rich, go
ahead. Look, I hate to be the one that says this and the one that is. Look, it's all sound advice, both what you guys are saying, but I don't care what the matchup is I'm playing Taylor. I've had him on my damn IR for 4 weeks now. And I gotta stick them in. If you have better options than Aaron Jones and Mostert and stuff like that, yeah, look, it's yeah, you could debate it, but look, if Jonathan Taylor's in there and stuff like that, I want him in my starting lineup. I know it's a bad matchup. I love the fact that Anthony Richards in the backfield with him. It actually helps him if you really want to sit there and think about it. I kind of talked about this in our Gilda chat with a few people. I am playing Jonathan Taylor here, and I am playing Mostert. I'm not. Look, Aaron Jones is banged up too and everything. Is going to play and stuff like that. But look, I think it's just a different aspect with the Packers. It's almost like with Love, you got these receivers that they have, and they get more opportunity than Jones right now and everything. So I'm going Taylor and Mostert.
Okay, so George, since you're starting or you're moving him out of your IR, who are you starting here?
I'm playing Taylor and I'm playing Aaron Jones.
Well, that doesn't help anybody because I'm playing Aaron Jones and Mostert. But if I had to play
you're
Taylor,
cheating and keeping Jonathan Taylor in your R. I know.
I'm not cheating. I'm playing by the rules of the way Sleeper set it up. If I have to play Taylor, if you force me to play Taylor, if the rules were set where you had to play Taylor, I would play Taylor and Mostert. So that's who we'd play. All right. Black Body Absorber. Flex Jalen Warren or Jake Ferguson in a PPR. And I'm going to start with Rich.
I'm playing Jake Ferguson. He gets opportunity. I know it's going to be a tough matchup between the Cowboys and the 49ers and everything, but I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm talking my way out of it now. Dang. You know what? I kind of think I know where everybody else is going to go, so I'm going to make this Ely Jalen Warren. Did I make the right choice with you guys?
And then George, go ahead. Making the right
I'm
choice.
going Jake Ferguson. I was. Am I still muting? No. I was with Rich here with Jake Ferguson, to be honest.
Okay, good.
He's number one in the NFL in red zone targets. I actually did a short on Jake Ferguson this past week that you can go to our YouTube channel here and look at our shorts, and you can see exactly why I am a huge fan of Jake Ferguson. He leads the NFL in red zone targets. He leads the team in targets inside the 20, inside the 5, inside the 10, like anywhere in that gold zone where you want your tight end to be good at. That's where he leads them. The touchdowns are coming. He's getting an absorbent amount of targets. Like, I want Jake Ferguson here. I get it's going to be a tough matchup against the 49ers, but I don't care because the Cowboys are going to have to score and they're going to have to throw the ball to if they want to beat the 49ers. So I'm going with Jake Ferguson here.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with. Go ahead, Rich. Go ahead.
No, like I said, that's initially where I was going, but I actually, from the past conversations, the past couple of weeks and stuff like that, I know both of you kind of hit on Warren and everything, and I thought you guys might be leaning that way. But look, that's initially where I was going with Jake Ferguson too. Not trying to sound confusing here.
Listen, I like Warren. Like, he's on pace for 70 some odd receptions. You love that in a PPR. But in this matchup, I'm going to say Jake Ferguson for all the reasons George outlined. With that said, I can absolutely see both of these being not great matchups just because, Pittsburgh can't seem to get out of their own way and Ferguson's playing against the 49ers. So both tough, but of the two, I'm going to take Jake Ferguson. McD says Dubs or Debo this week. And man, it's hard to pick against Debo. But I'm going to pick against Debo. I'm going to, assuming it's PPR, I'm going to say Romeo Dubs. And
yeah, with this matchup against the Raiders and stuff like that, I'm gonna do the same thing compared to the matchup that Debo has against the Cowboys.
The tough part is you don't know if it's going to be Ayuk. You don't know if it's going to be Debo. You know for sure it's going to be McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. And then Kittles has the opportunity for an explosion of a game, although he hasn't done it yet. But there's 4 guys there. So that makes me lean against Debo, who I think of the 4 is probably the the one of the 4 that I would not play the way Ayuk's been. So, George, you agree?
Yeah, so you can actually tell if it's going to be a Debo game or if it's going to be an Ayuk game. Honestly, you can. Look at the defenses. If they play man, it's going to be an Ayuk game. If they play zone, it's going to be a Debo game. Like going back like the last 2 years almost. If you look at the splits between man coverage and zone coverage and how those two produce fantasy-wise, they're almost polar opposites. So man is going to be Ayuk, zone's going to be Debo. This week, it's going to be a man game. So it's going to be an Ayuk game. It's not going to be a Debo game. Last week, Debo had exactly 0 targets last week. Even though it was a zone game, he played mostly as a decoy because he's not healthy. He's injured. So for those reasons, I'm going to go with you guys and do Romeo Dubs. Let me see Romeo right here. We talked about Romeo Dubs earlier going up against Vegas. I talked about Jordan Love going up against Vegas. I love the matchup. Romeo Dubs has been just on fire so far. He scored at least 18.3 points in 3 of his 4 games. He comes into week 5 against the Raiders with 25 past 2 outings against New Orleans and Detroit. With Watson back against the Lions, albeit Watson is probably going to be on a snap count, Dubs had 9 catches for 95 yards on 13 targets. Like, he's a target right now for Jordan Love, and he's playing the Raiders, who've allowed 5 receivers to score at least 12.2 fantasy points on the year. Like, I love Romeo Dubs this week. I like Christian Watson this week, but give me Dubs over Debo.
All right, that makes 3 of us. We want to get Joe. Joe knows. Joe Clark, he's on our network. Says, good morning, all. Catch Joe looking depressed every Wednesday on the Giants Corner. He came into the season with high hopes, calling Danny Dimes the next coming of Patrick Mahomes, and it's been a bad season for him, but Joe does good work talking about the Giants and what they need to fix, and there's a lot of content there, so watch Joe every Wednesday on the Giants Corner. I know George has got his finger up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to apologize to Joe. I'll be attending his Giants funeral here in about an hour and 5 minutes when the game kicks off. And Joe, if you need a shoulder to cry on, or you just need to express some frustration and anger, as a Dolphins fan, I've been there myself. So you can call me. We can talk it out. I'm always there for you. This week, though, man, I'm sorry, but fuck you, Joe.
Oh, that's not nice. That's not nice at all. Can't flick off Joe. We'll get Mean Joe. Mean Joe will come on here. Don't do that.
I like Cranky Joe.
Grumpy Joe.
I like Cranky Joe.
You know what? I called him Grumpy Joe, but Cranky Joe is way better. It's going to be Cranky Joe. When we do our Sunday night shows in the off season, he'll be introduced as Cranky Joe. But anyway, okay, so Black Body Absorber, thank you for this as well. Hey, T2T Tribe, look left and press the like button to help us guys out. I really appreciate that. Also, subscribe. Being a subscriber really helps us out, as well as letting you know when we go live. So if you're watching us and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. It helps us out greatly. And again, also, we do have the Gilded Chat. Reach out to us at toiletstitles@gmail.com, and we'll get you in our Gilded Chat and then jump into Patreon, because we have a bunch of Patreon giveaways. There's another thing we can talk about, is that Coach is giving away so much stuff this year. It's insane of all the prizes that they're giving away and donating. And then let's see. Okay. Now I got to get back to the actual comment and jump over to Nico Collins or Hollywood Brown. I'll start with this. I can't not play Nico Collins. Hollywood Brown, guys, is sneakily a wide receiver 2 this year. He's like up in 17, 18 range. Sneaky good. I don't think anybody actually, like, when you think of good fantasy wide receivers this year, not a lot of people are going, hey, Hollywood Brown's been okay. But he's been pretty good, but he hasn't been Nico Collins. So for me, Nico Collins. I saw you both nod, so I'm going to go with George to agree with me.
So first off, I want to give a shout out to Tube here. Hoove was the camera guy for us at Draft Night Out this year.
Oh,
He was
okay.
there. We got to meet him in person. Very eccentric individual, very awesome guy. Loved the conversations we had with him. So shout out to him. I'm also going to be going with Nico Collins here. I said it earlier. I'm playing Nico Collins until Nico Collins turns back into Nico Collins. He's the number 7 wide receiver in PPR leagues on the year. I'm not sitting that. That whole team, the offense has been playing phenomenal. Jason, you did touch a little bit on Hollywood Brown, how he's sneakily been a wide receiver 2 this year. He's getting 27% of his team's targets and 41% of his team's air yards, both top 10 in the NFL in those categories. So Hollywood Brown is a great option to play, but I'm going with Nico here until he turns back into Nico Collins.
Yep, 100% agree with both you guys, Nico Collins. And look, Hollywood Brown has been great and everything and stuff like that. And the thing about more surprisingly is with their quarterback that they have been playing great and everything and stuff like that. And, you have a few other people that are kind of stepping up and everything. So both great options to have and stuff. I think this week you go with Nico Collins.
Okay. Justin, half-point PPR. Rashid Rice, Woods, or Khalif Raymond? George, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this is Robert Woods for me. Give me the Bobby Trees. He leads the Texans in target share. The weak link on the Falcons defense is D. Wolford, who allows a 77.3% catch rate and 123% passer rating when targeted. He'll be the guy covering Robert Woods. Give me Robert Woods here.
Rich.
Yep, Robert Woods. Look, Rashid Rice and Khalif Raymond, they both have great opportunities today and everything. And they're going to be in some games where they're going to be involved, especially with Raymond having the injuries around him. That's going to give him opportunity. Rashid Rice, obviously playing with Kansas City and everything, has been getting some opportunities with Mahomes and everything. But Woods, like I said, we discussed it earlier. I go over the same stats like I did earlier, but I'm not going to. Look, it's Robert Woods here.
Like, I think if you need a home run, I think either Rice or Raymond would be your choice here. Like, if you need an absolute, like, opportunity at take the top off type of game, like, Rashid Rice looks like the best wide receiver there as a rookie. The problem is it's muddled week to week, and Kelsey's the really only steady target. Khalif Raymond, again, has an opportunity with injuries to be a big target here. But again, safe floor, a guy who won't get you 1 or 2 points like either one of those other guys could do, is going to be Robert Woods. And that for that reason, I'm going to take Woods because I'd, in a lot of my matchups, they're close and I'd rather have a floor than a ceiling. So if you're absolutely needing that ceiling, though, I'd probably take a shot at Rice. And let's see. The other thing I do want to mention, because our next comment here is from one of our partners, Rival Fantasy. So before we get into the next questions and then we get into some news, I do want to mention that joinrival.com/titletribe, you can they will match you up to your first $200 deposit, and if you use the code TitleTribe or use our link with TitleTribe at the end of it, you get an extra $25 in bets. Like, you get $25 in bonus. So again, rivalfantasy.com/titletribe. The cool thing about them, and we'll probably get to one of these sooner or later, is they offer challenges. So, those bar bets that you make where you're sitting next to a guy and you're like, oh, I think Diggs is going to have a great game or a better game. And somebody says, no, Devontae Adams is going to be better this week. You can actually make a bet on that at Rival Fantasy week to week to say that this player is going to do better than that player. They also have Justin's favorite, which is bingo cards. And it is basically what it sounds like. You pick a roster for the week, and then you have to meet certain items to get your bingo. Some it'll be like quarterback runs a touchdown in for the game, or a running back gets 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. And then as you tick those off, if you get a line across or corner to corner, you get bingo. And you can win decent prizes. Again, Justin a couple weeks ago won a couple $100 playing bingo. The cards started $1. So, like, very cool, different ways to make bets on fantasy football, which, for us degenerates, there's always the interest in different ways to spend our money on fantasy. So joinrival.com/title tribe. And that is our sponsor. And then George, if you want to break away for the news, any updates? What do we got?
Yeah, so one of the things that you hit on earlier, and I'm surprised we haven't had a whole lot of questions about Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Mike Garofalo is reporting that they're not expecting any decrease in snaps or reps for rookie Puka Nacua, and that they believe that there's enough football to go with both him and Cooper Kupp. So anybody who's concerned about, with Cooper Kupp coming back, is Puka going to see a reduced role or reduced snaps or anything like that? The reports coming out right now is no. They're not expecting him to see any type of reduced role or snaps.
All right. Sounds good for everybody involved, unless you're playing against Nacua, and then it sounds pretty damn awful. Let's see. We had somebody say, Iggy, let's go, and he went.
He goes.
he only had an hour for us, and we appreciated him being on. Danny Fulton saying, should I start Tank Dell or Michael Wilson in a full PPR? Rich, go ahead.
I've been kind of bragging about both of them, but in this situation right here, I am going Tank Dell with in Houston. So, George.
Yeah, I'm also going with Tank Dell. I don't want to chase the points for Michael Wilson last week. The matchup is a pretty good one, as we talked about with Atlanta. They're coming back from overseas in London, so there could be some jet lag. I think Tank Dell is he should have a bounce back week. Prior to last week, Dell had scored 20.2 fantasy points in each of his previous 2 games. So we had a down week last week. Expect a solid showing against the Falcons. Falcons have allowed 5 receivers to score at least 12 fantasy points the last 3 games. And Tank Dell should remain the top go-to option for CJ Stroud. It's a great matchup. Tank Dell's performing great. I'm not chasing the points and the multiple touchdowns scored by Michael Wilson last week.
I do want to say, though, I think he had 6 or 7 receptions. Also, he's had multiple receptions, 60 or 70 yards in the last 2 games, Michael Wilson. I'm going to say Michael Wilson in a full PPR because, as we've talked about, Nico Collins, Robert Woods is already there. It also could be a Dalton Schultz game because there's
no such thing. A Dalton Schultz game in Houston does not exist, Jason.
It could actually be a thing because
it does not.
It absolutely could be a Dalton Schultz. Listen, it doesn't have to be. I'm not saying it's going to be. But they give up the Falcons give up the 4th most points to tight end. So
and they play 3
could be
receivers or tight ends.
It could be. So I'm not saying it's going to be, but it could be. But we've already talked about Nico and Woods having a good game. If Schultz also has a good game, that leaves there's a lot there. And Tank Dell may or may not. I'm not saying Dell's going to be bad. I actually said start him earlier. Of the 2 in a full PPR, I'm saying Michael Wilson, but I lost 2-1. So Tank Dell over Michael Wilson.
Yeah, prior to last week, the most targets. So he had 7. He being Michael Wilson had 7 targets, 7 receptions last week, and he had the 2 touchdowns. So he had a great game, but he had 76 yards. But prior to that, the game before that against Dallas, he had 2 receptions. The game before that, he had 3. The game before that, he had 2. He's not really been involved. I feel like you're chasing the points and the production from last week over to this week. I don't see it with Michael Wilson.
So to be fair, last week or 2 weeks ago, you're right. He only had 2, but it was 2 for 86. So he was getting the long work. So again, it was still a good week for fantasy, even though I think they looked at that and saw, okay, we may have something here. Let's see what we've got, and that's what we got last week. I'm not saying he's getting 2 touchdowns. That's silly, but I think he's a rookie that's getting worked.
He had a 69 yards. So, I mean,
like I said, anyway, it was 2-1. Uncle Steve, Aaron Jones or Connor in a full PPR. We kind of had this discussion earlier in a trade talk, but now we're talking about specifically this week. Aaron Jones, who's still a little dinged, playing against, the Raiders, or Connor, who's been getting all the work playing against what's been a bad Bengals team. I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna say James Conner, just because he's getting all the workload, and yeah, Dylan's been terrible, but he's still taking touches. So I'm gonna say Conner.
Yeah, I'm going Conner too.
Same here. All three of us are going to go with Conner.
All right, here we go. PPR: Burrito versus Miami, Austin versus Baltimore, Woods versus Indy. Start one. I'm gonna go
Burrito.
I'm going Burrito.
He has been ruled out. I know Austin has some speed. I know we've been pushing Woods, but in this situation, I want Burrito.
And
I have a question.
I'm with you as well.
I'm confused. Who's Austin?
Receiver from Pittsburgh. He's a rookie, right? Rookie or second year? I don't know if you remember watching the game against the Raiders. He's the one that had that long touchdown pass in the first half.
Okay, yeah, no. Kelvin Austin. Okay, no, I'm not starting Austin versus anybody. No, I think I'm going to go with Burrito versus Miami. Miami is missing Jalen Phillips on their line. You've been able to run on the Dolphins. Even though they're down 3 starting linemen, this game's going to get out of hand. I just got a feeling this game is going to get out of hand. Hopefully Miami doesn't drop 70 again. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't want to see the Dolphins ever score 70 points ever again. But I think this game is not going to be pretty. I'm going to go Burrito based solely upon a volume play here.
What's funny is just to back up what Rich is saying, and George, when you say who's Austin, I Googled Austin, Pittsburgh, and it gave me the map directions and not a player.
It's Kelvin Austin III. It took me a minute to figure out who it was. Didn't get it.
Just so everybody's aware, it would take. Hold on, I'm kidding. I had it up. If I hadn't closed it, I would tell you how long it takes to drive there. Let's see. Okay, Dustin says, don't forget to hit the like button in the comment, screenshot, and send to coach. Yeah. For another giveaway, don't forget to hit the like button and a comment, and then screenshot it and send it to coach. If you're in our Gilda chat, that we are doing giveaways again. That's just going to be another one of those. Thank you, Dustin, for saying that. Dustin agreed with Rich earlier that he'd play Spears over Mondre, but I think he's high. So, Rich is high. I don't know about Dustin. I don't know Dustin that way. Everybody's crazy. Bobby Ham says, James Cook is about to ruin my day early. Who in the flex? Dameon Pierce, Debo, Jaleel, or Khalif? Look, if James Cook comes out and lays a goose egg, which is going to be tough for me because I had him ranked pretty high this week, you're looking for upside, right? Who on here screams upside, George?
So if I need upside, I'm probably Debo. I don't feel like this is going to be a Debo game. I think Ayuk's going to be the guy. I think Debo has the safest floor of all of these. What's going on with Dameon Pierce? Like, they're just not using him.
Yeah, Devin Singletary's getting way more attention or way more run than the tough part is when teams bring in guys, you should pay attention to their actions and not their words. They spoke very loudly about how Dameon Pierce was going to be their guy in all situations. But then they went and spent a lot of money on Singletary. So you had to know they were going to use him, even though he's kind of just a guy. For me, upside here, the guy that looked explosive last week is Jaleel. I want to play Jaleel for upside. The Jets defense is good, but they've given up points. The one spot they've been giving up points is to the running back. They've given up the second most touches and the 8th most total points to running backs. And again, a lot of that's probably because they allow teams to stick around. or they're behind, or the Jets are behind. So like you're trying to run the clock out and you're not trying to throw it against the Hall of Famer that is Sauce Gardner. So,
First
if
ballot.
you absolutely need, I got you, first ballot guy. I'm backing you on that, George. So for me, for upside, I want to try and play Jaleel. The tough part is we definitely don't know if Javonte is in or out, and that's going to change this question. If Javonte's in, then I guess I go probably Debo as well. But for me, it goes Jaleel with Javonte out, and then Debo Samuel, and then Rich.
Yeah. So currently, James Cook is 4 carries for -2 yards,
Ooh.
2 for 3 receptions for 18 yards. And Josh Allen came out today as the bad Josh Allen, throwing another pick.
It's my favorite Josh Allen, by the way.
Just an update on that game and everything with this question. But you know what? Jason hit it right on the nail. Look, if Williams is out, I'm playing Jaleel in this case. And if it came down to it, I think I'm still sticking in Dameon Pierce.
And side note, guy, for this game, it looks like Calvin Ridley's back to being okay again.
He is. Yeah, he's back in the
2
game.
rushing yards for 14 yards, which isn't anything special, but it's getting him involved. And then Calvin Ridley, 6 receptions for 90 yards. No touchdowns, but it's good to see him back involved. Christian Kirk actually looks pretty good too, 6 for 78. So it looks like they're top 2, although that's mostly because the guy who did catch the touchdown, Zay Jones, went out.
Yeah.
So, we'll see about that going forward, but it is nice for those Calvin Ridley owners to see some life finally from the guy. Let's see. I've been proposed a trade, says Danny Fulton. I give up Jamar Chase and Tony Pollard for Ayuk and DeAndre Swift. I understand in a vacuum it's not good, but I have better vibes for the other guys. I also have Kenny Gainwell. Ugh.
So I want Jamar Chase over Brandon Ayuk, and I want Tony Pollard over DeAndre Swift. So Danny, I get you get the better vibes. I want the better players. I've got Brandon Ayuk in a bunch of leagues. I'm a huge DeAndre Swift guy, but I would absolutely trade Ayuk and Swift for Chase and Pollard.
And then he follows. I'm going to let Rich answer. I'll add the follow-up down here, and go ahead, Rich.
Well, what I was going to say is, look, this is what's great about Toilets to Title, Gilded, and our Title Tribe, our members in there and stuff like that. We got a bunch of them in the chat, and McDee's one of them and everything. And, he kind of helps us out in the chat. A lot of them do and stuff by helping us as we get to these questions. So, McDee, look, right on. Listen to what he's saying. Look, keep your guys. We discussed it and stuff like that. Look, I know it looks good in a vacuum, but, I hate vacuuming every Saturday, once a week and stuff like that. So I don't like the vacuum aspect.
No, Rich is right. You got to, and George too. 1, vacuuming sucks, and 2, you want the better players, not the better fields.
Also, this week right here is the first week that the Cowboys starting lineup. So they haven't had a full starting offensive lineup for the offensive line all season. So they're starting to get healthy. That's going to be another plus for Tony Pollard.
All right, guys, we got 14 minutes. I just looked up and realized it was 12:16, so we got to get through some of these. I know there's just some comments here, so I'll just mention them without tuna. So that's why Bobby Ham will never be on the show. Also, sardines. Danny says chili out of a can is fine.
Sign off on that.
Let's see. We're talking about the Ravens defense here. Black Body Absorber says he's still here, which is nice. Good to see you again, Black Body Absorber. Let's see. Ridley got rocked. Ridley, Danny, good to hear he was rocked. Glad he's okay. Okay, half-point PPR, Rashee Rice, Burrito, Woods, or Raymond. Did we answer this already for him?
Yeah, I think we did.
We did.
Yeah, I think we did.
He asked it a question. So I think we said it was Burrito.
It was Burrito.
With Barkley out. Yep. Risk it with Aaron Jones injury or start Jaleel McLaughlin. I think Aaron Jones for me against the Raiders.
Yep.
McD likes hearing us argue over the rules. Damian Pierce or Aaron Jones?
Oh, I'm going Aaron Jones here.
I'll go Aaron Jones.
Damian Pierce has only played 54% of the snaps the last 2 weeks. His route participation is only 24%, and they're playing the Falcons, who are number 12 in the league in stuff rate. It's just a very, very bad matchup. Week 4, Atlanta held Travis Etienne, who is a much better running back than Damian Pierce, to 20 carries for 55 yards, 3 catches for 17 yards. Like it was that Atlanta is a pretty good run defense, is what I'm trying to tell you. So I'm not playing Damian Pierce. I'm going to go with Aaron Jones.
All right. Sorry, every time I hear a buzz, I'm thinking it might be news, so I'm looking down to see if we got anything, any updates.
Yeah, same here. If you ever see us looking down, we're trying to monitor the phones while we're doing the show, give you guys the most up-to-date information.
Yeah, normally when
during this episode, that's the same thing I've been doing too, is kind of scrolling in as I'm on Twitter and stuff, and I see other people asking questions. I'm shooting them the link to the show so they can come on and we can help them out. So,
yeah, I just got a notice that Travis Etienne scored a touchdown. So, good for everybody that got Etienne.
That game is 18-7 right now in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, exciting for all of you Dolphins fans. Let's see. I was going to say Jags fans, but you guys don't exist. Mike says, need to start 2 in flex spots. Pacheco, Zay Flowers, or James Conner. 3 guys that we've been high on this week. I don't see whether he says PPR or not, so let's assume half point. You know what? In the next one, he says in PPR, so I'm going to assume full PPR. Pacheco, Flowers, and Conner. I'm going to take the 2 running backs here.
Yep, same. That's what I was about to say. Look, and both of them do catch the ball out of the backfield, so even an easier choice for me. So, look, I'm going both the running backs.
And I'm going to be the odd guy out. I want to play Zay Flowers, so I want Zay Flowers and I want James Conner.
All right, so 2 for the running backs. We haven't done a rival. I don't feel strongly enough to do a rival one here. So we're going to do this one and not that last one because it actually gives the PPR context. Jonathan Taylor or Brandon Ayuk in a full PPR. George. I'm going Brandon Ayuk. This is a Brandon Ayuk game. I talked about it earlier with the team defense playing when they play man, it's a Brandon Ayuk game. Dallas mostly plays man. Give me Ayuk. And Rich.
Yeah, I hate saying in this case, this is one case I'm going someone over Jonathan Taylor is Ayuk.
Honestly, I'd like I would say Ayuk as well. However, this is Justin who loves the Colts. So
that's why he's asking us. He's trying to set the fandom aside.
You'd hate yourself moment if Jonathan Taylor goes out and gets 3 touchdowns in his first game back and you had him on your bench. You will hate yourself forever. But I'm saying Ayuk. But Justin, if Jonathan Taylor has a good game, it's because you put him on your bench. So do the rest of the fans the favor and go ahead and bench him.
Yes, so please put him on your bench because that way when I have him in all my lineups, I get the benefit of what you're doing.
Let's see. We've got Lori Stevens, the lovely Lori, stepping in and saying hello. Lori's guy, Joe Burrow, hasn't been very good. I know she'd probably love to nurse him back to health, though. Oh, this is hard. I benched DJ Moore in favor of Ayuk, and that's tough that's bad because I know Justin's been a DJ Moore guy for the last several weeks, and then to bench him when he had this kind of output, that's rough for you, bud.
So I'm going to say what George was fixing to say before he froze. It was the right choice to make at the time.
I was exactly what I was going to say, but I didn't want to cut Jason off. At the time, so Justin and I talked about this on Friday. When we did the TGIF show, which, by the way, you can find it here on the Toilets Titles Network, where we go over all the injuries for the week and let you know who we think is going to play and not going to play. And you can find it, like I said, here on the Toilets Titles Network. But we talked about it on Friday. The list of wide receivers that he started over DJ Moore, he was not benching in DJ Moore. This is just, hindsight being 2020. Oh man, I wish I would have started this guy instead of that guy.
Let's see. We've got one for Brandon that we skipped. And then we'll get to Lori's comment.
Yeah, you gotta show that.
Brandon flex with Aaron Jones questionable, which I'm assuming he means sit Aaron Jones. Sutton, Ertz, Michael Wilson, or go Jones? Rich.
I think gotta go Jones.
George.
This is tough.
Yeah.
I'm leaning go Jones. I don't want to chase the points with Michael Wilson. I talked about Sutton and how he's getting Deion. They're literally taking the jacket off Deion Sanders and giving it to Sauce Gardner, is what I've been told. So I can't go with Sutton, and I can't comfortably say start Ertz over Aaron Jones in the flex. So go with Aaron Jones.
I'm going to say Jones as well, though Ertz could have a decent game. I'm not sure what tight end you're starting, Brandon. But, the Bengals give up the six most points to tight ends. Ertz has been playing well, could have had a touchdown, except he just let it go through his hands last week, but it would have been a walk-in touchdown. So Ertz is not a bad play this week, but, if you have Kelsey or whatever, obviously it's Kelsey.
Yeah.
But
Ertz, the last couple of games, he's got targets of 10, 8, and 10. Bengals give up the 10th most receiving yards to tight ends and second most tight end touchdowns. So, like you said, Jason, they're not very good against tight ends. He is a very good play.
Okay, let's see. We got to get to Lori Stevens, who says, I'll rub JB's calf if he rubs your calf. Calves aren't going to get the job done here, guys. That's all I'm going to say. Let's see. And then Justin says, that's it. I'm sitting JT. That's a great point. When he does well for the Colts, or it's a great decision. And then, Steve said, if you bench him, JT's going to go for an 80-yard touchdown. So Justin's benching JT. So you guys say thank you to Justin for the sacrifice. If you're starting him, thank you to Justin for the sacrifice of sitting JT.
Yeah.
So he may live on your fantasy rosters.
So we have a few minutes before we got to go. Guys, just bring real quick on Jonathan Taylor. Both him and Cooper Kupp, two big names coming back from injury, getting their first action of the season. I don't recall if Jonathan Taylor actually played in the preseason. I just don't remember if he did or not. But what are your guys' expectations from these two players, their first game in the season?
Yeah, so let's all be honest here and stuff like that. Was Jonathan Taylor really injured these past 4 weeks, or was this a ploy for him to sit out with everything going on with contract talks and everything? I think it's the second part of it and everything. I think he comes back healthy as an ox. I think he was healthy as an ox before this happened and everything. It's just because the way the situation panned out, this was an opportunity. Hey, let's put him on the IR. Let's give us 4 more weeks to talk about this situation. And to be honest with you, in the 4 weeks the Colts go they 2-2? Or what's their record? Okay, for them to go 2-2 while Jonathan Taylor sat out and everything bodes well for this team and everything. Look, I don't think there's any limitations. I don't know why people keep on saying, hey, they're going to ease him in. Why are you going to ease in your best option? He's a 24-year-old running back that has fresh legs. So I look for him to have a stellar game and everything. Kupp is the one I'm more worried about. Now, he was a true injury. He came back in preseason to get some action, and he re-injured it. That could very happen. Same thing happened today. That's why everybody that had Puka, look, still fire him in your lineup like he is the number one option, because same thing could happen to Kupp as soon as he comes in this game and everything. I hope it doesn't, but the same thing came to happen, and you just don't know.
So I do think Taylor was injured coming into the season. I don't necessarily think he needed 4 games. I think the situation dictated waiting until they could get a contract done before, and he was willing to sign a contract before they reactivated him. I think there was a lot to that. I don't think he was 100% coming into the season for sure. But he also hasn't, he hasn't been playing fully with the team. He hasn't been practicing fully with the team until this week. Like, he's been rehabbing. He hasn't been playing. So, like, even if he's healthy, is he in full football shape? I don't know. How much is the splits going to be with Zach Moss this week? I don't know. And also, again, Tennessee's a very bad matchup for running backs, even a good one. And the last time we saw Jonathan Taylor on the field, he wasn't great, and we haven't seen him with Anthony Richardson, who's going to do some of the running himself. So it's not going to be the volume it was 2 years ago with Jonathan Taylor. All those reasons are why I'm lower on Taylor this week than I'm going to be the rest of the season. That said, like, obviously he's a guy you want on your team. He's one of the upper echelon of running backs. So, like, going forward, he's fine. I don't have a great feeling about him this week, and I hope for Colts fans I'm completely wrong. It's been known to happen from time to time.
So how many touches? I agree with you guys both. I don't think Jonathan Taylor. So I think he had an ankle injury, but I don't think it was. I think he could have came back week 2, week 3, and would have been fine. Probably could have played limited role week 1, whatever. But the contracts behind them. He's going to be in Indianapolis for the next 3 years. How many touches do you guys think he gets this week? Is it just full blown, give him a full workload right out the gate, or because Zach Moss has looked good? So I don't know if they're going to limit his touches first game back, playing up against a very good Titans defense. Like, what are your expectations on his workload?
15 touches.
Honestly, 15 was in my head, but anywhere from 12 to 15. And that's a solid workload for a guy.
That's what I had on our notes was 12 to 15 touches as well.
So I think we all agree there that, it's not like that's a bad workload.
No.
So I still think 12 to 15 touches against that Tennessee defense that, and they said he's on a pitch count, but everybody's in a pitch count until they get into a good game and you need him. Yeah. But, I still think it's, again, like I said, it's just, for me, it's matchup in his first game back. And if he comes out and blows it out of the water, then everybody who owns him and picked him early, like hoping he would be great. Coaches and teams say a lot of things. Like, if I was them, I'd be saying I was going to be throwing him out there for 80% too. Remember when Dameon Pierce
was going to get all of the workload in Houston?
All of it.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
You remember when they said Jamar Gibbs was going to be involved in a big part of the offense?
We're going to use him like you couldn't imagine. And you know what? They didn't lie.
They're right.
Could not imagine them using him the way that they've been using him.
I mean, I got offered a 3rd rounder in a 32-team league for him this week, which is...
Hey, him being ruled out was probably one of the easiest decisions and the best decisions I've had to make so far this year.
Oh, it does, because you were playing him. What if he was playing? You kind of feel like you had to, and then
Jason got offered a top 90. Jason got offered a top 96 rookie draft pick for him.
For a guy I selected 2nd overall. So, yay! All right, guys. That is going to wrap it up. I'm gonna just double check. Do we have any other questions, George? I think we're good.
There's a comment here from Brandon Williams. I don't know what he.
We asked him because who he's starting over Ertz, and that would be why. So obviously that's why you would start somebody over Ertz. So very, very good there. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. I do again want to mention thanks to Frito at Frito Bandito _FF on Twitter, at George Reed FF on Twitter. Thank you both for joining me this Sunday and doing this all over again. I really appreciate it. If you want to follow all of us, again, our Twitter handles are down below our names. You can follow us at Toilets to Titles on Twitter. You can go to toiletstitles.com where we have all our articles, all our videos get posted. Rich and my top 10, the schedule for all the shows. We have a gilded chat, which is pretty cool. 250 people nonstop talking about football. You can talk trades, start sits like this. We have a game log chat. We have IDP chat. We have betting chat. George puts his finger up in the middle of the closeout. Go ahead, George.
Just wanted to update you guys real quick. Josh Allen threw a touchdown to Gabe Davis. 2-point conversion failed. Jacksonville's up 18-13.
And that's 4 straight games for Gabe Davis. So that's 4 straight scoring games. So, he's given you the year this year you hoped you kind of had last year. Just a year late. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, there's 4 minutes left in the game. Hey, listen, Gabe Davis was awesome for me last year. I don't know what you're talking about.
And just to complete all this again, join rival.com/title tribe, and you can get your $25 in bonus bets when you make your first deposit if you use the code title tribe. And let's see, our patreon.com/toilets to titles. Check that out as well. We have a tier for every salary, starts at $1.50 and goes up from there. We get the George will come over and sit in your lap tier if that's what you're looking for. So we've got it as long as you're willing to pay for it. But again, within our Gilded chat, we have a Patreon chat. We're doing all kinds of giveaways. You get our waiver wire document Monday night instead of Tuesday. We do have a guy who tells us that his waivers run 7 a.m. Tuesday morning. So getting your waiver information Monday night like we give out is invaluable for guys like that. That's pretty extreme. Not a lot of guys have that, but we do give you our waiver information first, and we go pretty darn in depth and give you guys that other people don't talk about. So that's just one of the benefits of our Patreon. So check that out if you have the money and are willing. Again, like I said, starts at $1.50. So we're willing to take pennies on the dollar for all the content we provide you. With that, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Guys, enjoy your football. We're going to go set our lineups. Have a great week.